Welcome to this special episode of Constituent Assembly and the Constitution, a Locus Standi test in two different scenarios. I myself Manish Jaswal on BhJoYa radio. Generally speaking, persons are powerful simply because they hold a position or post under the provisions of the Constitution. In the absence of the Constitution itself, these persons are similar to ordinary gentlemen. The power to influence others, communicate in their sophisticated manners, and people follow them because of the power granted by the post. But the exercise of these powers can only be done in accordance with the principles of the Constitution, and that's why before joining the office there is a phenomena of oath ceremony. People generally know that these persons will do things in accordance with the Constitution, that's why they follow them. In this backdrop, if for example a group of legislators in parliament, even in their 100% majority, a question arises: can they change the Constitution itself in its basic format? That is, can they change the basic structures of the Constitution, or that is, they can go even to the extent of repealing it? The answer is no, because doing so is against the oath of the Constitution. If there is no express provisions in this regard, that is, they can't assume the role of a Constituent Assembly required for these special purposes. They don't even call a new Constituent Assembly based on a election process for the next time. In this scenario also, the election process, in their manifesto for example, they openly announce that they are going to change the constitution by forming Constituent Assembly, but at the same time they are using the same provisions of the Constitution. Even if the present legislatures announce that the new elections will be held entirely in a very different environment and will be free from the provisions of the existing Constitution, then also this is not a valid thing to do. They have no locus standi to announce this, because they are announcing from the position where powers are from this Constitution. Their power to influence the people of the country is because of this post. In the absence of this post, people will not even listen to this idea. So after this, in the second stage, I want to submit two cases. That is, a constitution can be amended or changed even in basic format, but that process should be independent, and persons who are desire of doing this, the first condition should be met is that they should not participate in the existing processes of the Constitution. And since they have no post, generally they don't have any power in the beginning. Like an ordinary man, their view is only a small chunk in the large mosaic of the views of the general public. So of course they have to bring a people's movement. They themselves have to become a leaders you can see all these phenomena, all these things, unique circumstances, socio-political conditions, very similar to our independence era, where a journey started, where normal persons, professionals like Gandhi, Nehru, Patel, Chief, our great freedom father started their journey as a normal man, and by various movements in step by step process created a large movement. In the presence of this large movement itself, the then existing constitutional provisions became something like dead in their legitimacy, and that's where a new constituent assembly was formed. Although the constituent assembly formed used various provisions of the Government of India Act 1935 and have taken many things from different constitutions available in the world, even taken many things from our culture also. But functioning of the Constituent Assembly assumes that there is no working, that is, there is no living constitution present in the country that time. So this is the one way where a locus standi is valid. If some persons or people, a group of people want to change the constitution, then first step is to stop participating in the present processes of the constitution and stop holding the powerful post. Without such powerful post, the position of these individuals will be like an ordinary man, and they can start their journey like our freedom parts, great freedom fighter started in the pre-independence era. Second scenario where we are going to test the locus standi is where such persons using the powers and post of the constitution and in going against the oath of the constitution makes such type of statements. I am not comparing this situation from the present, I am just expressing a possible scenario. And when this is allowed, and if though they do it advertently or inadvertently, then actually they are making our constitution, that is eroding, corroding the steel frames of our constitution, our basic structures from inside, and for which they, because of the post, because of the selection process they followed, and because that there is no constitutional or express norms for doing this to change the basic structure of the constitution, their locus standi can't be justified. So these views are not against any party, any persons, or any government official. These views are expressed as a concerned citizen of this great nation. I respect this great constitution, as we, the people of India, have made this constitution, and it gives us the a very unique set of fundamental rights not available in the human kind entry. It envisages a socialist pattern of economy, so that it gives a collective strength, welfare for poor, even give affirmative actions for historically underprivileged sections of the society. And that's why my influence, my views are in. I have to make this in this video. It also envisages an independent judiciary. This independent judiciary of professionals is as much democratic as the government of the day or parliament legislatures people choose for 5 years in general sense. Politicians can be viewed as generalists, so these generalists are elected by the general public for 5 years. But the independent jury, where professionals need to be selected, it should also be checked, and that checking can only be done by the well-learned professionals from among the pool, and can be selected only from the available pools of professionals across the country. A doctor can only select a doctor for the needs of surgery or medicine, not a general public. Similar way, general public can only be selected by journalists only. They have their own set of power, supremacy in their domain. Specialists, that is independent judiciary, that is my submission, main submission. And they have their own power, and they are supreme in their regime. Three arms of the Indian Constitution are supreme in their own area of things, but the ultimate supremacy is of the Constitution of the India. And this independent judiciary not only holds, I am not saying the questioning, holds the wisdom of the present government, present 5-year government and parliament, but it also holds the wisdom of the previous governments and legislatures, and even is always ready to hold the wisdoms of the future generations of the government of this great nation. So any interference in the selection of the judges in the highest court of the land will be something like a last nail in the coffins of the Constitution itself. And in this scenario, we can't even think of things that we are seeing, that the well-known observation now, that the very interesting judgments are coming from a state which is acknowledged by the highest court of the land. In the case of committed highest judiciary, we could not have seen this cross-checking. Similarly, as Constitution is the mother of all power, behind all the provisions, the election process itself is the mother of all the individuals needed to run all these process. So any malafide, any wrongdoing in the process itself would mean that the Constitution will not work like it wants to, and in its themes, in its basic structure, in its values. So that's why a constitutional bench led by retired now Justice Kurian Joseph entrusted the election process with a third empire, not only a third empire but supreme trust, that is Honorable Chief Justice of India, in the selection process to select the election commissioners of the Election Commission of India. So I am coming to the main, I am going to my opening statement, that the Locus Standi test for individuals when on such post is negative, and they can't do things against the spirits of the present constitution. If they do so, then they are actually making or creating conflict between the different arms of the Constitution and making it unworkable slowly day by day. And one day some type of euphoria or some type of mirage mood will be created that Constitution is unworkable. Now we need a new Constitution, but in that new Constitution there are chances that only whims and fancies of only some persons who don't have courage to go to that struggle journey that our freedom person had gone, are actually making a new Constitution, but it is not made by the people of India. So that's now for this episode. Hope you have enjoyed this. My views are personal, but definitely not in vacuum. It is influenced by the leading senior most lawyers of the day, Mr. Kapil Sibal, Mr. Dushyant Dabe, Mr. Prasad Bhushan, and Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, which I listen on different forums in and outside our honorable code and in society. You can also follow Sat Hindi programs hosted by Dr. Mukesh Kumar and Mr. Alok Joshi, and can view the views expressed by senior lawyers such as Mr. Rakesh Sinha, Sanjay Hegde sir, and BhJoYa sir. Thanks a lot. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.